This is the one minimalism rule that I live by. Hello everyone, before we get into the video I have a little word from our sponsor, Hover. Hover is a great place to find a domain. If you're setting up a brand or if you've got a company and you need a new domain name, Hover's the place to go. I even have 10% off your first purchase, which I'll leave a link to in the description. With Hover, there are no upsells and it's a really clean user interface. Plus, they have an amazing customer support team to help you along the way and give you all the information that you need. Hover Connect is a feature that allows you to connect your domain name to many website builders through a few simple clicks. This was something I was concerned with when I set up my website. I had a domain name and I was using a website builder and I just didn't know how to connect the two. I was a bit unsure. So if you're like that and you also don't really know how to do these kind of computer things and you're a bit confused by it all, Hover Connect will help you there. There are 400 plus domain name extensions to choose from, including all the classics. So you can go for your classic.com, .co.uk, .net, or you can go and have a little bit of fun. There are loads of niche, interesting ones on there too. For more information, go click the link in the description, and thanks to Hover for sponsoring today's video. There are so many videos online about minimalism, hundreds I feel like at this point of my own. I have a whole playlist if you want to watch it. But the thing with minimalism is that there are so many different voices, opinions, thoughts on what it means. Whether it means you owning like 20 items of clothing, whether it means you live without much furniture, whether you only wear neutrals and only paint your house with white. That means that there are so many different versions of what minimalism is. There are so many different variations of how people use it. And a lot of the time that can create a stereotype of what a minimalist is. And that can be problematic in many ways. I have found over the years that minimalism is so much more than that. It is really not a one size fits all, and everyone approaches it in a different way and can use it in a different way. So with all that said, the only rule that I really live by when it comes to minimalism is to make my own rules and to decide how it applies to me and kind of ignore all the rest. When I first started to declutter and when I first started to learn about minimalism, I was mainly following people or listening to people who owned very, very little things. They had quite a relaxed lifestyle, they worked for themselves, they traveled the world, they lived out of a backpack, they didn't wear makeup, they were quite hippie-ish, and I found that so inspiring, and it really opened my eyes to another way of living that I hadn't really thought about before, which was great. It was wonderful. It really kind of pushed me in a direction of thinking about how I live my life and changing it for the better. The only issue is that when I followed these people and looked up to them, I started to forget myself and forget the things that I loved and the things that made me happy along the way of decluttering and trying to reduce the things I owned. I definitely have decluttered a few things that I wish I hadn't, although it doesn't really bother me because it's just stuff. There are a few jumpers that I know nowadays I miss and I pine for, and I'm trying to replace in a local charity shop. It's kind of about finding your happy medium and not getting distracted by adverts and buying loads of stuff and doing loads of things you don't want to do, but also not getting distracted by the kind of minimalism stereotype and thinking that that's what you have to be. You can find your happy medium, you can make your own rules, and you can use it in a way that makes you happy. Now, this is not to say that finding inspiration in people who do something their own way is a bad thing, because if it wasn't for people who I followed online for many years, I wouldn't have learned about minimalism, and I wouldn't have learned about other things like sustainability or veganism or self-love and all these other amazing things if I hadn't followed those people. But it's so important to remember yourself and remember who you are, remember what makes you happy, and not get carried away along the journey of decluttering and changing your lifestyle of who you are and what is good for you, because that is so easy to do, trust me, I've done it so many times. I really want to read an excerpt from my upcoming book, Minimal, because I talk about this in my chapter all about minimalism, and I feel like it just sums it up better than I would be able to say. So, a big misconception that I want to squash is that minimalism is all about owning barely any stuff. While reducing what you own is a part of minimalism, how much you own is arbitrary. It's a tool to minimise the areas of your life that aren't giving you anything back, and being mindful of what you consume. By decluttering, you allow space for things that are important. You really don't have to be a minimalist in the stereotypical sense in order to use minimalism in your life. You can collect things, get enjoyment from them, and still call yourself a minimalist. You'll become more aware of what you have in your life and more conscious of the things you bring in. but how much stuff you end up owning is individual to you. And this is a way that I've used minimalism to fit me, using what works and leaving what doesn't. Don't fall into the trap of following minimalism to the point of losing yourself. So I hope you enjoyed that, and yeah, click the link in the description if you want to pre-order my book. It comes out 9th of January. So excited for you to read it because I really talk about all these things in so much more depth and give you all the tips and tricks on how to declutter and how to do all the good things and live a sustainable minimal life. But let's get back to the topic at hand. So I probably own more clothes than a lot of minimalists. I probably wear more colour. I potentially have more toiletries and beauty products, but that's because I am a blogger and a YouTuber and I get sent these things. I do make sure that I'm mindful and conscious when I say yes to things and it's only things I like, but it means they sometimes send me 3 of the range that they have and you only really need 1, but I get sent 3 and I try and use them up and test them out. That's part of my job. Same when it comes to food. I probably have more food rustling around in my cupboards and my fridge than most minimalists, but that's because food is part of my job. And there are so many examples I could give why someone might tell me I'm not very minimalist, but it works for me and I've realised my happy medium, and I've let go of really caring about these kind of silly rules surrounding whether I should declutter just because my wardrobe's looking like I have too many things based on what I see online. Comparing yourself just doesn't get you anywhere. Also, you can make mistakes. You're entitled to make mistakes along this journey, I promise you. You can declutter things that you regret decluttering. You can repurchase things that you decluttered by accident. You can declutter things in an unsustainable way and then realise it's been unsustainable and make better choices in the future. There are so many examples of ways that you can make mistakes, and it doesn't matter as long as you learn from it. And beyond all the physical, honestly, at the core, minimalism is about how it makes you feel, your gratitude for life, your gratitude for the things in your life, your gratitude for the people, the things you're doing, and just living in general. It can become so overwhelming when your life becomes about stuff and when your life becomes about consuming things, when it becomes about owning a certain car or owning a certain bag or going out and earning loads of money so you can live the happy life. If we remove the distractions, if we don't listen to the voices outside, the voices of telling us to buy more, the voices of telling us to own less, if you just get rid of all those distractions and focus on what makes you happy, you'll get minimalism and you will get essentialism and all these other kind of living consciously and sustainably ideals. You will start to get it and you will start to make it work for you. If you're someone who has a job where you need to have a whole wardrobe for that job, it doesn't matter, that works for you. If you're somebody who really loves collecting books and you have a whole room full of books, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you can't join the minimalist group. I honestly think that everyone can use minimalism and everyone can become a minimalist in their own way, in that everyone can re-evaluate their life, think about what's making them happy and save some money, live more sustainably, and just be more grateful for what you have. So let me know in the comments what your rule of minimalism is, if this makes sense to you, if you follow this too, or if you're someone who really likes to kind of fit the minimalist stereotype and set rules like I'm only allowed to own this many items or I'm only allowed to do this many things in my week. Let me know, because everyone's different. This is the rule that I live by, but maybe you have your own. And if you have struggled with this whole process and felt like you're trying to shoehorn yourself into a certain category and it isn't working and therefore you should just give minimalism up altogether, hopefully this video has helped to let you know that you can do it in the way that you want, and the only rule that you have to live by is your own rules, and forget the rest. Stop comparing yourself. Let me know. Hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to check out Hover. I'll leave a link in the description for you with all the information, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Roxy says bye too.